How many guys have fished the ships last year for stripers? So, how many guys have not fished at all over there? Okay, okay.
You're gonna die.
Actually, it's the easiest place to target a trophy fish out of a kayak. Anywhere. I mean, anywhere on the East Coast, that's the easiest spot to go out and catch stripers. I mean, especially 40-inch fish. And this is your best opportunity to go after a fish that's over 40 inches. You know, if you haven't caught a fish, you know, over 40 out of a striper, this is your best opportunity to go for.
Unless you're filming a show.
And there's big ones there. You know, this is a 49-pounder, and we've got them up to 54 pounds. And it's possible to catch 60-pounders out there. So, you know, this is definitely a big fish fishery. There's not a lot of small ones out there.
Photoshop.
But
Photoshop.
this is Kitten Peak. It's right here on the eastern shore. There's the ships right there. And the best wind is an east wind. It's coming off the land. You know, we're right close to the shoreline there, so it comes off the land and it's not bad. And if you get any kind of west wind or any south wind, and southeast is probably not the best. Northeast and east is the best. And well, luckily that's winter time. Usually it's coming from the north and the northeast, so it's usually all right over there. And the best thing about it is no boats from here can get over there if it's northeast wind. So everybody's over there usually launches from there. Now the best time to get them is around the change of the tides. All right. That's the best time. Not saying you can't get them all day, because we've gotten them all day. We've gone out there in the middle of the day, middle of the tide, and caught them. But usually the best time, if you got a certain time to get out there, it's around the change of the tides. Now, what's weird is the tides over there run 2 to 3 hours after the tidal height. So if it's high tide at 11 o'clock, the slack tide is like 1:30, between 1:30 and 2 o'clock. So that's the tricky part. You think you want to get out there at 11 because that's going to be slack tide? No, you're going to get out there, it's full blast current. And it has to do with how big the bay is, the water rushing in, and the heights and all that stuff. Now, you know, it's weird because you're sitting there and the water's going down, but the tide's still running in. So you got to time it out with the slack water tide. Now I have this is on my website. It's a link on my links page. You can find it. It's kind of a tricky thing. You know, you're looking for the slack water and max current and all this stuff. It looks weird and it's kind of crazy. It's a lot of numbers. But just look for the slack water and run down and find your date and figure it out from there. But that's the best time. Also, you know, early morning, late evening, right at sunset. If you got to change the tide right around that sunset, that's probably the best time. And at night. At night's real good. But all day you can catch them. If they're there, it's possible to catch them all day. That's not the only time to catch them. The temperatures, the warmest I've ever caught them there is 52 degrees. The shut-off is 42 degrees. Once it hits 42, they either shut off or move out into the ocean, or they just shut off. I think they just move out, because once they're not there, people are catching them off Fisherman's Island, and that's out a little farther, a lot of current, and I don't even venture out there in the wintertime. But if it warms back up again, they'll come back in. It's been February, I've watched the water temps, and it's come back up, and I've gone over there and caught them. And you know, it's just, the prime temperature is 47 to 46 degrees. That's the prime. That seems like when we whack them. That's the prime temperature. And the ships are close. This is why it's the easiest thing. I mean, it's not 200 yards from the launch. The launch is right here. There's a boat ramp right here. You don't want to mess with it. It's going to be crazy chaotic there with all the boats going on. And so we park down this other end, drag our boats down this little beach, and it's perfect for us. You know, it's kayaks. That's a kayak launch right there. You're away from everybody. You don't have to worry about trying to get in here and getting run over by all the boats. I've seen boats lined up all the way to here coming in at night before. So it's a lot easier that we have that launch there. Like the fish, the alleyways, what I'm saying, the alleys between the bow and the sterns of the ships is lined up, or the ends, on both ends. And the pilings all around. And not only the pilings that are on the bottom, you know, everybody fished those last year, the pilings on down the beach. You can catch them all the way down to where Fisherman's Island, you know, where those pound net pilings all the way down there. Those pound nets are good to work, because that's a good structure. A lot of times they don't have the nets on them. You don't want to get inside of them because there's all kinds of loose rigging and all that stuff, but those pilings are good structure also to fish on. But I like the alleys and the ends. Now when the current comes through, it pushes through these alleys and it creates all this turbulence and all this eddies around here. This is where we like to get. Right up along the sides and anywhere in here, because as it's coming through, it's just all this turbulence going around. And it's deeper here. Now, if you're making a drift, you're trying to drift through, say it's an outgoing current, and you're trying to drift through here. It's real deep right here. It's about 30 feet right here, but it'll come up to 15 foot in the middle of the ships. You know, it's cut out where the alleyways are. So if you're coming through, you'll start feeling the bottom and all that stuff, and you want to keep it up above the bottom. I'll get to that in a minute. But the alleyways and the eddies are the best spots to get. And we get right up against it too. I mean, right up against it. Because the ships are coming down like this, and the closer you can get to that structure and put that eel down to them, that's the easiest way. Because they're cruising the ships. They're looking for stuff, they're looking for bait, they're looking for anything, they're cruising right along the ships. Not saying you can't get them outside of the ships or even around that area, but I like to get right up against it. And it's not, the ships aren't the only place to get them. You got the ships, you also get the side outside the ships. And this is a big slough that runs through here. And that's the beginning of it right here. That's a real good spot out here. That wall, and of course buoy 18. That's 2 miles out. But all along this area is what we call the rip. And that's a real fun spot to go during the daytime. You know, night I won't go out there. It's just too many boats and all that stuff. It's dark as hell. I'd just rather stay by the ships. But at daytime, we get there in the daytime, it's a nice day. That's the most fun. I love going out there for the drift. You can see the rip. There's the ships right there, and this rip is all along that channel edge, that 80-foot slough right through there. And there's some big fish out there. That's where I caught my 50-pounder, 52-pounder. And it's fun. It's fun getting out there and doing this because there's nobody around. And you know, I use heavy tackle, but if you want to use some light tackle, that's the spot to do it out there. And when there's no structure to break off on. I'll explain why the ships you got to use really heavy tackle. But out there, we use one rod with a weight. All right, your basic Carolina style rig. And we'll have this one with the eel about 10 feet down, no matter how deep it is, 10 to 15 feet down. It could be 80 feet, but we'll only keep it 10 to 15 feet down. Because those fish are looking up and they'll come at it. So this one I keep in the rod holder, and keep that in the back rod holder. But the main one, the one's real fun, is the free line. It's the free line eel. And that's this one. You know, just the free line. And you put the eel on that and you just cast it. Cast it out in front of you. And let it hit the water and swim down. And as it gets down, just kind of start reeling up again and do it again. Just cast it out. This gets more hits than this other line with the down eel with the weight on it. This is fun because there's no weight on it. And as soon as he hits, he's taking off with it. You just set the hook and you're on. You're getting pulled around and everything. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's a lot of fun out there. These fish are big and nobody around, not to break off on. It's a lot of fun. And that's the drift. That's what we call the drift. That's what we're talking about outside there. And if you want to use light tackle, that's the spot to do it. There's nothing to break off on. Now the ships, to go out there, I'll use one rod. I only take one rod. Anything else that's up, hanging out of the rod holders or anything like that's going to scrape against the ships. No matter if you have it on the side, you're not fishing against the ships. You hook one, he's going to go right into the ships. You're going to either break your rod, scrape your rod. A lot of stuff's going to get messed up. So I just go out there with one. And the thing is, keeping that eel about that far off the bottom, right? So I got it hooked up, drop it to the bottom, feel the weight hit the bottom, crank it up 2 or 3 cranks, 1, 2, 3. I got that eel about 2 to 3 feet off the bottom. Now he's gonna want to get to the bottom, and if you let him sit on the bottom, he's gonna get into the rocks and he's gonna break them off. You're not gonna be able to get him out. These eels want to get in the structure and hide. And they're going to get in. There's all kinds of rubble around the ships. They're going to get in there and you're going to have to break off and re-rig. So we keep it right above. We're right above the bottom. And keeping it free spool with the clicker on. All right? Now just enough, you know, keep your tension just enough where it's not dropping, but the eel has enough where he can while he's, you know, he's going to do this stuff. He's going to try to get down the bottom. You're going to feel him, you know, get nervous and get down the bottom. And when he starts getting down, reel him back up, put it back in free spool again. Now I'll sit out there with the rod, sit on the rod, right? Sit on the rod, you got it on free spool and clicker on, and I'll use my paddle to hover in the spot I'm trying to stay in. So there's no hands, you're just sitting on it. And it's a free spool, so if fish grabs it, it's not going to take off with it either. So, you know, it's in a free spool. And the hit around the ships is weird. It's when you're out there on the drift, they take off running with it. There's no doubt that's a fish, right?